everybody. So it has been on my heart and on my mind to do a video talking about my Chevening journey before, during and after, and not just about my journey for my sake but for your sake. If you're intending to be a Chevening scholar, have just won the scholarship, or you're in the middle of your program and just want some perspective from a previous Chevening scholar. So my name is Tishana Mullings. I studied Development Administration and Planning at the University College of London. So let me tell you, especially if you're thinking about applying for the Chevening scholarship, or you have applied and you're waiting for your interview. So I'm going to use the acronym Chevening to talk about preparing for the Chevening scholarship. Preparation will include looking at your career journey, how it has been to date, preparing for your essays, and also preparing for an interview, and a long rigorous wait period. It's long and it's nerve-wracking. Ask any Chevening scholar is one of the most nerve-wracking things I've ever gone through. So C is for being clear and concise. When you write your essays, it's going to be 4 essays, I believe. Sometimes Chevening varies and changes the application slightly. So if you have 5 essays, 6 or 3, don't quote me on that one, but I think I had 4 essays. So I had to write about leadership, I had to write about networking, for example. You want to be very, very clear and specific. So for example, in your leadership essay, you need to write about exact times when you were able to demonstrate the leadership skills, either in a particular project, at your school, on your job. So it's about being clear and concise. You want to look at your career journey and make sure that you're clearly mapping that to what you have done, what you want to study, and where you want to go in the future. So if you can clearly delineate that map, that's what it really requires. I used to think that you had to have like one set career. So I want to give a quick shout out to Chevening scholar Vashon Brown. He's a television reporter on Television Jamaica. So he did a media degree, and then he studied something in media, and then he was returning to a media career. Another friend of mine, Sherry Perrio, she was in a finance career. She studied a finance degree and she was heading into a finance career. So I thought that you had to be studying the same thing and on the same journey in terms of where you're heading in the future. But that's not necessarily so, because for me, I'm quite multidimensional, multifaceted, the ultimate millennial that does all sorts of different crazy things. That's me. So I studied psychology and business, then I was working in the financial services sector, then I started my business working as a social entrepreneur, then I wanted to study development, right, to go back to look at how I could influence policy and work in development projects. So that's quite varied, but guess what, I had to bring it together. So when I looked at the work that I did in financial literacy with farmers, my social enterprise work, education and training, all of that is in one way, shape or form development. So that's how I brought it into one concise package, and then I could plot how this would position me for my future career. Alright, so we're moving on to the H. H for me is for honest. So you must be very honest about your career, your journey, where you're heading. Honesty is very important. When you go into the interview, if you're speaking honestly, you're speaking from your heart, you're talking about the work you have done over the years, then it will flow naturally, right? Be honest in your essays, because you don't want anything to be incongruent between your essays and what you say in those interviews, because what they essentially do in the interview is to give you a chance to explain what you have written in your essays. Alright, so I'm going to move on to the E. The E is for evaluate. What the Chevening process allows you to do, whether you win, lose or draw the scholarship, it allows you to evaluate your personal and professional journey. I found that extremely useful. Even if I hadn't won the scholarship, I would have been happy that I worked through that process. Just to look at where I am, what have I been doing all these years since I completed my undergrad and since I've been working, where have that positioned me and where do I really want to go now. So it allowed me to do that pivot. So evaluate your journey. So we're heading to the V in Chevening. V is for visualize. So I'm now a development practitioner, but before I branded myself as a motivational speaker. And you know, we love talking about visualizing a thing so that when you have now achieved it, it would have been a matter of willing it, visioning it, and then arriving at this manifestation. Visualize yourself having your Chevening poster. I've been chosen for Chevening. They literally give you a blue Chevening poster that says I've been chosen for Chevening, for you to take photos and share on social media with the hashtags. Just visualize yourself doing all of that, taking your flight to the UK, walking onto the campus of the university that you want to attend. In the interview, they sometimes ask you about the city that your university that you're intended to go to is located. What are some of the other things in that city are you looking forward to do? That kind of thing. So just visualize all of that, the entire UK experience, your university experience, just being a Chevening scholar. So the second E in Chevening for me is enjoy. The Chevening journey is a fun journey. Don't wait until when you get through and you have gone on that flight and you're in the experience to enjoy. Enjoy the process of applying. Engage with people who have gone to the school you're intending to go on LinkedIn, on Facebook. Join the Chevening applicants groups and just explore and interact. Enjoy the process. If you don't do that, trust me, it's going to be a long, winding, nerve-wracking experience. I can tell you from experience, because that's how it was for me. Just saying to my friends, do you think I'm going to get it? And even though my friends were saying, yes, Tishana, you have everything it takes, because the Chevening Scholarship is for global leaders, for persons who are poised for leadership, and that's what you embody. But there's still this imposter syndrome, like, am I really gonna get it? So you want to use those energies to engage in the digital spaces that Chevening provides for applicants, and even some informal spaces where applicants interact and previous scholars interact as well. Yeah, so enjoy the process. So my N in Chevening is for natural, and I'm specifically referring to the interview process. Now, a lot of people overthink the interview, and I understand. Chevening is a big, global, prestigious scholarship. You want to make sure you get it right, because you don't want to lose this opportunity. But at the same time, please do not overthink it and overstudy for the interview, right? Because essentially, what was asked in my interview is just questions that were around the same essays that I had written. So make sure that you can talk about everything that you wrote about in your essays, essentially. So talk about your leadership, talk about your networking, talk about why you want to study what you noted that you wanted to study. It's good to go probably to the Chevening website and read their impact reports about, you know, the impact that Chevening has been making globally, stories of Chevening scholars across the world, what they have been doing, you know. But it's not as important to state all of those figures and stats and stories as it is to be able to recount all the things that you wrote in your essays. So the I in Chevening is for investigate. Investigate, investigate, investigate. Make sure that you know about the history of the scholarship. It started in 1983 with just 100 scholars initially. So know that timeline. If you go on the Chevening website, there's a timeline taking you from 1983 right up to current day, where there are over 50,000 scholars. No scholars that have done well over the years. Scholars that have held significant leadership positions across the world, and engage with local scholars in your space, in your home country. Before going to the interview, I spoke to quite a number of Chevening scholars, asking them about their interview experience, their university experience, the Chevening experience as a whole, what was the best thing for them, what was challenging in the UK, because understand, there are challenges that you will face. When I just came to the UK, just understanding the grading system, it was different from that in my home country. Just dealing with the climate, it was almost stressful initially. And if I just spoken a little bit deeper with some scholars to understand the challenges, it would have been a little bit easier journey. But sometimes we get caught up in the glim and the glamour of being a Chevening scholar that we forget to ask about the challenges. So let's move to the second N in Chevening, and I hinted at this earlier as well. It's network. Network, network, network. Make sure that you're building strong partnerships, especially with previous Chevening scholars. Be able to talk about how you will also add value to the Chevening network. Because a lot of times when people are thinking about networking, they just think about the value that they can get from others. But it's very important in this process to think about the value that you will bring to the Chevening network. And that's a question that is often asked in the interview from me questioning other Jamaican and international Chevening scholars about, what they were asked. So be able to articulate what you're bringing to the Chevening network. If you have partnerships with any Chevening scholar, be able to talk about that in the interview as well. That should be quite impressive. And when you have applied and you're waiting, network. There are many spaces that I mentioned previously that you can network in, right? Both with local and international Chevening scholars. Finally, the G in Chevening is for groom or grooming, whichever works for you. And this specifically relates to the interview. You want to make sure you're well groomed for the interview, maybe similar to something like what I'm wearing now. Make sure that your makeup is not overdone, not too much jewelry, just something nice and formal is what is required. And just make sure that in terms of your overall self-delivery, you're delivering naturally, confidently, and just flowing. Because remember, you're talking about your life, your career, your aspirations. And understand too that you need to groom yourself for the overall Chevening journey. So I also want to broaden grooming to mean grooming yourself in the UK as well. It's a different climate, especially if you're from a tropical country like Jamaica. So you're going to need to change your wardrobe, or let me not say change your wardrobe because I made that mistake. I brought just warm clothing only. When it came to summertime, all I had was coats and jackets and jumpers. And if you're from Jamaica, you call a jumper a sweater, right? But yeah, it's the same thing. So that's all I had, just warm clothes. When it came around to summer, I had to go to Primark. Yes, that's where you shop on a budget in the UK, and get myself a few items. So make sure that you're, ready with both your cold wear and your summer wear. Yeah, so make sure you're grooming yourself for the interview and also for your journey in the UK. Because I'm speaking to you in this video, if you're just an applicant, you're preparing for the interview, or have already interviewed and waiting and believing that you have gotten the Chevening scholarship. And guess what? If you apply this year and it doesn't work out, apply next year and the next year and the next year, because guess what? There's no age limit on the Chevening scholarship. So just apply, believe in yourself. Alright, so in summary, be clear and concise in your essays and in your interview. Be honest in every part of the Chevening application process. Evaluate your personal and professional journey. Visualize yourself having already attained the Chevening scholarship. Enjoy the process as you wait to hear whether or not you have been accepted for the Chevening scholarship. Be natural, especially in your interview. Investigate the history of the Chevening scholarship and what is currently happening. Network with previous scholars, persons from your intended uni, and groom yourself for the interview and generally for the entire Chevening journey. So those are my 9 tips for preparing for the Chevening journey. I hope you found this useful. But guess what? If you still have questions or you would like me to deepen anything that I mentioned in the video, please feel free to follow me on all socials: Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram at Tishana Indomitable Mullings. Alright, so all the best with your Chevening application process. I believe you will land the scholarship. Believe in yourself as well. I believe in you. I'm rooting for you. But guess what? If you don't get it this year, apply again next year. That's all from me.